ancient times where we lived with our parents and families, there was a big difference in the climate change, but there were things which were affecting it. Up to date. My name is Dalila Hamza, and you're watching The Umbrella Show. You're live in Al Shifar TV, Kenya. And this is another occasion where we get to discuss and expound more concerning the climate change, especially here in Mombasa. Joining me in studio are amazing ladies. From my left side, it's from Boost, and she is Bichanga. And the other side is Dama, who's representing the green world. And together over here, we're going to discuss more and expound about the effects of climate change in Mombasa. Practically jumping just into it. When Daylin, tell us who Daylin is in relation to Boost.
Thank you so much, Delilah, for this opportunity to be here today. My name is Daylin Bichanga. I work with Crosswise Works and a program called Boost Your Business Mombasa. At Boost Your Business, I'm the leads trainer, and what we do is we normally incubate startups in Mombasa for a 12-week program at Close the Gap Hub. And we've been in operation now. This is the second year, and we've seen great progress in the startups that we've incubated. Mm-hmm. And we are still underway, and we're looking forward for greater impact in Mombasa. And we've seen that Mombasa is ready for change, and we are here to boost the startups that are here.
Absolutely. From herself, she says it is boosting our economy to another level. I'm joined with teachers. They're both teachers, by the way. And the other side is Dama, representing the green world. So tell us who is Dama and in relation to green world.
Thank you, Delilah. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. So who's Dama? Dama is a mother. She's a teacher. And she's a child of this world, a daughter of this world. And through Green World Campaign Kenya, we are working to build the capacities of communities so that they can be able to be resilient enough in the face of climate change. So what does that mean? It's about mitigation and also adaptation. It means that we want to give them the capacity to co-create their own solutions, be it maybe in areas of food security, water catchment, and our projects are actually based on schools, and then they grow from there and they go to the whole community. We look at holistic approach so that we are able to integrate a lot of approaches, so that if it's organic farming, and what does that look like? And we look at also systems approach, what's already working, how can you align it with the overarching goals of the Kenyan government, be it food security or about the SDGs. And also we are really keen on gender equality. And so that's why I'm here today, more so also to contribute to other partnerships to foster for change, but also in the face of the current challenges that the world is facing, more so climate change and other issues. I hope that I can lend a voice to that, and we can be able to co-create solutions together.
Absolutely. When you look at the entire concept of climate change in Mombasa, I'm letting you jump into it, Daylin. Why did you focus only in Mombasa and not any other county?
Thank you so much for that question. Just to give a brief history of Climathon. Climathon is a project that is worldwide. In other words, it's global, and every city across the world has an opportunity to bring together its citizens just to co-create ideas together and share challenges, and out of the challenges find a lasting solution on matters climate change. So for this year, Boost and Close the Gap have had the opportunity to organize the Climathon that is already in progress, and we've done a warm-up event where we had a walk here in Mombasa. The walk mainly was for us to sensitize citizens in Mombasa and also businesses of the importance of them taking care of the environment, because it's our activities that destroy the environment and that causes climate change, and the adverse effects are always felt by us. So Climathon, we have organized it as Boost and under Close the Gap, and mainly it's a city-based program. So all over the world guys are organizing it, and for us getting that privilege to do it is really something that we cannot take it for granted, and it's something just to harness and bring together support from each and every sector of the economy or every sector of the government to come together and see what solutions can we come up with so that we protect our environment for our future generation.
Okay. Let me rope in Dama. Dama, what do you think is prompting the causes of climate change in Mombasa? What are some of the reasons, or maybe the things that you've observed so far as Green World?
Okay. So for us, when I can just talk a bit, when we started our projects, we were mostly looking at the rural areas. But then we noticed that as you're focusing on the rural areas, you're having more and more youth that are coming to the urban centers. And as you can say, I think if you look at statistics, Kenya has one of the largest youth populations. What does that mean? If they're all coming to the urban areas, and what does that talk about the future of food security? Because when you look at the goals today, SDGs or even Big Four agenda, they talk about the youth. But then the youth are the current and the future generation. So what does that look like? And what challenges are they facing? Most of the challenges they're facing are to do with unemployment. And when you look at it, climate change has a significant part to play in unemployment. Because the rural areas are not able to support food systems, they're not creating more employment opportunities, youth are coming to the urban areas. But then when you talk about Mombasa as a coastal town, what does that have to do with climate change, people ask. But if climate change goes on the way it is, there are reports that are talking about Mombasa maybe not being there in some years to come. But what are the current impacts? One, because it's a coastal town, it means that rises in sea level always has an impact on aquifers. So that means the water table. It means that if more of the salt is infiltrating into the water table, especially Mombasa, there are going to be more rise of waterborne diseases. And then apart from that, when we look at Mombasa, it's about recreation. We are heavily based on tourism. We want people to come from other cities, they come here. And when tourism is impacted, that impacts the economic activity of the coastal towns. So if, for instance, there are more storms or there are higher temperatures, because higher temperatures also affect how fish are able to produce in seas. So you'll hear more and more fishermen right now are talking about we are going to the sea and we are not taking
the scarcity of fish.
It's also affecting algae and a lot of the. So I think we may not look at it like, no, it's going to impact the rural areas in terms of food security. No, they're the ones that are going to need more rainfall. No, we are getting our water from Zizima Springs. But in the long term, all the people that are having the economic activities impacted in form of tourism, or people that can't access good water, or more waterborne diseases, it applies pressure also on businesses. Because if in Mombasa people can't access good quality water, or if they can't come up with better waste management, because maybe the water table has risen as a rise of sea level, it has a lot of impact for that. So for Greenwood campaign, we are cognizant of the fact that what happens in one area, be it rural or urban area, has a direct effect, especially for people that right now want to talk about we as the youth, the future, and also, yes, we are current, but we're also the future generation. Solutions that are brought about today should not be solutions that are going to apply pressure to the youth of the future.
Let me slide you in, Bichanga. The other report came just recently where we heard that Mombasa will be submerged by some few years to come. I don't know your take concerning that.
That's a report that came up, and it's very true because the rise in the temperatures are going to affect our ocean. They're going to affect the coastline, which we as Mombasa residents, where we live, and it's something that is going to be of great. It's going to have a great impact negatively on us. So I think it's all about what activities do we do as citizens that is impacting the rise in the levels, or the rise of the ozone layer, or the rise of the waters at the sea level. So I think it's something that government has to come in place promptly to come up with policies that are gonna at least help us in terms of minimizing the activities that affect the rise in the temperatures at the sea level.
Okay, we are live in Al Shufar TV in Facebook and YouTube. My name is Dalila Hamza and you're watching The Umbrella Show. Joining me is Dama on my other side, and we also have Daylene. They're both into interest about the Climathon and its project and what significance it plays in terms of climate change, especially here in Mombasa. Writing you inside the same topic, Daylene, I want you to highlight the circular economy, the concept of circular economy in terms of the climate change.
Thank you so much. Circular economy is one of the core trainings that we offer as Boost, and it's something that has come up, and most governments are undertaking it because we are now moving from the linear economy to a circular economy. Briefly, linear economy is whereby we just get things, we buy products, we use, and we dispose. No one cares about where that product goes to. All right? But now we are trying to shift our mindset to a model that is productive, a model that will have a greater impact in us, and that's the circular economy. Circular economy is simply an economic model that is regenerative and restorative in nature, whereby we are not using the concept of the end of life of a product, but we're looking at, if this product comes to an end, what can we do to regenerate its value again into the system? So circular economy is a very, very vibrant economic model that I wish every entrepreneur or every person applies it, because under circular economy we have three principles whereby we urge communities, we urge entrepreneurs, we urge the whole society to be able to minimize waste and pollution, be able to circulate materials across the whole ecosystem, and also apply what we call regenerative ecosystem, whereby we are able to bring, we are able to add value to something that is already that has come to the end of its use. So if we all apply the three principles in whatever activities we do, I believe we'll minimize waste and we'll be able to, you know, lower the pressure in terms of raw material production in our economy, because societies, or the number of people is growing, the population, but the raw materials are not growing. So we are stressing, we are straining, and if we are not very careful at that, we may not be living in a very secure society, because we'll deplete the resources as the population is increasing. So I'll urge every person who is listening to this to at least make use of the three principles of the circular economy for a better future. Our young people are here watching us, and our generation is coming. We need to act now. We need to go the circular way.
And the same note as recycling the waste products, as you term them, in terms of plastic, because every time you walk in the streets or on the streets, you rather find plastic everywhere. So how do we maintain this plastic and make it more useful? Because we believe there is a ban in the plastic bags, which were just banned. Concerning, it is actually ruining the environment. So what are those kind of products, or where should they be taken to, so that when they're recycled, they can create a better employment to us all?
Thank you so much once more. I think as we speak right now, policies have been made to curb the plastic menace. But you see, these are policies, but the implementation part of it lies with us as citizens. What are you doing to curb the menace of plastic materials around? So the policy the government has come up with is to ensure that all the plastic that are being produced can be recycled. So if they are able to be recycled, that will mean we'll have lesser of them on the environment. Another thing that lies on our part is not to accept or to use anything that is in form of plastic. If all of us as citizens will stand strong and firm and not to use any plastic-made item, I think they will fall short of the demand and they will end up not producing. A number of companies have also applied they are moving from production of plastic bottles to production of glass. A good example is Coca-Cola company, whereby initially they used to produce, water, mineral water that is packaged in a plastic bottle, but right now they're using glass instead of it. So I'll urge every one of us, even as much as you go to the shop, you want to buy your water, you want to buy anything, if it's packaged in any form of plastic, please don't agree to be given such an item. Rather, go for something that is long-lasting. I believe if we all come together in unison and, we all stand firm and, not accept anything that is in form of plastic, I think we'll reduce the number of plastic that is lying on the environment.
Okay, let me rope you in, Dama, in the same. When you look at, when we walk around and see plastic and all that, what danger are we facing when it comes to climate change and the way we are acting towards our environment? Which danger are we in?
Okay. So when it comes to plastic, and especially coming from somebody that's keen on climate and also about soil health and food security and water towers, it's about the carbon footprint, and it's about something being biodegradable. Plastic puts a lot of pressure on the soil. It puts a lot of pressure on the environment. It's not biodegradable, so it's not good for us. And then the biggest way for us to clean the climate is to plant more trees. When there's a lot of plastics in the soil, the trees are not healthy. They become stunted. They don't grow better. So that's put a lot of unnecessary pressure on it. And also, when she talks about the circular economy, and when people talk about not reusing waste, even if you think about it in terms of use, the circular economy has along its chain, it creates a lot of employment opportunities. So I bought a plastic water bottle, I drank it and I threw it. Youth is able to collect it. Yes, they get employment to be able to sort the trash, and then they go, it's recycled. Right now in Kenya, we are doing quite well in that. You'll hear like there's somebody that's using the plastic to create bricks. If you go to Kwale for the Mikoko Pamoja project under Base Titanium, they took all this plastic and they're able to create a boardwalk so that people can be able to walk into the mangrove because the one that was there was being eaten by sea salt. So it's possible for us to recycle. So I think it's about not being selfish by embracing our circular economy because it creates all this value along its chain and also it reduces the pressure on the environment. What's important is that as human beings, as this current generation, we should not look at the economic benefits and leave out all the other social and benefits, ecological benefits. We should always look for something that is all-encompassing. We shouldn't leave the other parts out. Hence, people pushing for the circular economy because it's holistic in nature. It's about, yes, we are looking for the economic benefit, but we want to think about the social benefit. Yes, we want to create more employment opportunities. We want to think about the ecological benefit. We want to make sure that they are healthy soil so that people can plant more food, so that they are food secure. We want to think about also having cleaner air. When you burn plastic, it's not good for anyone around. It's not clean air. It's not good for the birds. It's not even good for people that have parents or small children. And in terms of also applying pressure on medical facilities and also having more diseases like cancer that are hard to treat. So I think in the long term, if people are able to adopt such mechanisms that are good, that are all-encompassing, they look at economy, they look at social, they look at the ecological, that would be really good for everyone.
Okay, let's take a look at our social media sites and see what our viewers are saying. We have Ragishna Bay say, tune in. Thank you so much. We have Osman Side says, Nico Area Sasa. You're most welcome, Osman. Yeah, those are the few feats that we have at the moment. Let's also move on and see the dangers now. I want us to highlight, or rather emphasize, what are the things that we're seeing that has transitioned from our forefathers up to date? What are we seeing right now when it comes to climate change, especially in these areas in Mombasa?
Quite a number of things have happened, and it's really sad to report that we are not doing well. For example, I think issues of cutting down trees it's not something that people don't do, but nowadays we are not so much responsible. The language was, the yesteryears is that when you cut down a tree, ensure you plant 2 trees. But nowadays people are so much into cutting, but we are not planting. So we are really affecting our environment. No wonder nowadays we don't have constant or constant rainfall. Like there was a time you were told that in April there could be heavy downpour. But nowadays April comes, it's still very hot. Quite sunny. So things have really changed, and it's because of our activities as human beings. And what I also used to know is that in the yesteryears, people used to be trained on how to conserve the environment. It was like a family. It was a family thing. It started from scratch at the family level. But nowadays, we've left these things to our teachers in school. We've left it to the policymakers. So people don't have that foundation right from the onset in the families. So such things have really affected us. And again, issues to do with just hygiene, you know, it's something that started in the family again. But nowadays, we've left it for teachers in school to train our kids on how to maintain hygiene standards in the environment. I always get so much affected when I see grown-up people throwing trash anywhere. Someone takes or buys a banana, and after he or she is done with the banana, she throws that peel on the road. You know the effect of what that peel can have. It can even even give someone a disability. Someone can just fall, and you know, he can get hurt. You may never know to what magnitude. So I think a lot has really changed, and we have a major role to play, even as policymakers or as people who wants to see this change. It always begins with me and you. If we are able to incorporate all these aspects, and we're able to train the current generation and also train the future generation on the importance of just keeping our environment clean. And the environment, you know, you don't have to do big things. When we were having the walk, our slogan was, you need less. You don't need a lot of money to, you know, to act. Whatever that you have, use it, and it can bring change. Yeah.
On the same note, when we look at entrepreneurs out there, they're really struggling. So how is climate change affecting the entrepreneurs living around here?
It's really a big challenge. Right now, as we speak in Mombasa, the temperatures are too high. There are businesses that are not open, or they can't open on time, or right now they have shut down because some of them cannot really withstand the heat that is there. So I think with too much heat, it really affects how some businesses operate. And again, when there's too much rainfall, it also affects the agricultural sector, whereby you get that there's soil erosion. So you find that whatever farmers had planted, it goes all to waste. So this person who is relying to get harvest to come and sell in the market, he or she may not be in a position to do so, because where is the yield? It's not there. It has been washed away. So a number of activities that we do as human beings, even throwing plastic, like what Dama had mentioned earlier on, is something that affects. We have drainage. You know, in Mombasa, actually, when it drains even for 30 minutes, it's a disaster, because all the drainage system have been clogged with these plastics. So a number of people kind of also strain in as much as maybe transportation of commodities is involved, because at times if there's flooding, things may not reach the market on time. For example, in Mombasa, you know, most youths, though it's not even in the positive aspect, most of the youths normally take what we call miraa, or there's what they call mogoka, for example. So you imagine if it has rained and it has flooded, that car may reach here very, very late. So it will affect the person who is selling the item to the youth. So we need really to act on the climate, and we need to do activities that promote climate change and not destroying it.
Okay. A while ago, when you will be looking at weather news, you'll be like, when you see the weatherman and the focus thing which is there, you say, this is a total lie, because sometimes you had Mombasa is really raining a lot, and then maybe Nairobi is too sunny and too that. But there's a difference there, and the way they say people like, they saying the exact thing is not really happening. Dama, I don't know the part of the drainage system in relation to the climate which is around here. To what extent are we supposed to like really fight and conserve the magnitude of the entire issue?
So in terms of drainage, I think for us, I love my country, but we tend to do a lot of policy and not follow them through. So when it comes to implementation, that's where the problem is. And we do a lot of boardroom talks, yes? We sit and we decide this is what we do, and people draw plans. But then when it comes to the implementation, that's where things go wrong. So I think for what I would urge people, let's do better implementation. And sometimes the implementation is just getting all the youth and making sure they own the problem. Because they are ready. I think if there's a time that there's a generation that's really aware of what's going around them, they are really aware about climate change issues, and they want to do something about it. And they don't need much to do it. You just have to make them aware so that, and we have to get away from the idea that the elder generation has the answers. Because even like for youth right now who are in tune with technology, they can come up with solutions that the elder generation doesn't look like. Because when you talk about, and I think there's also a discord, you know, like when you are saying, what about the older generation and climate change right now? For instance, there are projects that we do that we make sure that the school children are communicating with Kaya elders. Why? Because us also as an African country, we should run away from the idea that the answers are Western. We should run away from the ideas that the solutions to even our food security issues are Western. We should run away from the Western consumerism, because going to fast food joints, eating, you know, always carrying a bottle, looking hype, we should run away from that. And the only way to do that is have to be in tune with our spiritual part, that is the African in us, so that we look for solutions that are ours, that are not based on them. Let's move away from looking at their TV and, you know, doing that, because issues that are affecting us are not necessarily theirs. When you look at climate change and its impact on African countries, when you look at statistics, we are bearing the brunt of climate change, but we are not the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases. The biggest emitters are the first world countries. But then when all the climate change takes place and it comes in and we're having more rainfall and it's impacting our drainage system, it's not because of things that we did. Yes, there's been a lot of clearing of forests, yes, and Kenya is working towards the 10% forest cover. We are not there yet, but we come from a system whereby, like the Moy era, whereby we would plant these trees. So what happened? And why are we not communicating that to the younger generation? Because when I was growing up, you were expected to plant those trees. Every event had to be accompanied by tree planting. Let's run away from the excuse it's a town. People are moving towards greenhouses, you know, where houses are climate smart. We have to be a climate smart city. So we have more houses that are climate smart, that are more efficient, that are using more solar panels, that are using better waste management. Because some of those wastes that are clogging the systems are coming from businesses that are within Mombasa town. Because like I know Kenya passed an act that was implemented, I think, February 2021. That's about responsible for the producer. They are responsible for the entire chain. So that even if they produce something, it's their responsibility to know where it ends up. It's their responsibility to know that it's recycled. There are a lot of even KEPSA, like the private sector, that's really also aware about how do we do this. There's NEMA that's following through. So we have everything in place to make sure that works. So you may just see a blocked drain, but there's so much that is coming. And I think it's also about individuals. Why, like Daylin said, why use a plastic that you'll use once? Why do we want to use single-use plastic? Why can't you, reuse bottles? And why is that you'll find primary school children are able to reuse a bottle, but adults that have come out of school,
different.
They can't use. Why? What's wrong with that? So I think There's a discord. We know what we are supposed to do, but for some reason we are aping the Western culture and we are not doing what is right.
Okay. In the efforts of the late Wangari Maathai in conserving the environment, we still see there is a gap. Who is responsible? And do you think that there's enough sensitization concerning climate change and our environment in our country?
I think the government is responsible for us, and we also have a part and a role to play as citizens. There's a lot of policies that are in place as we speak on climate change, but the implementation part is where we have a disconnect. I don't know what can be done as yet, because I believe we have the government in power, we have a devolved system of governance, and I feel it's very easy to fast track in terms of implementation. Can we just have people on the ground manning issues to do with maybe waste management? Because nowadays people just throw litter anyhowly, you know? But the implementation part on what can be done after the litter has been thrown is the problem. Or what are citizens doing about, you know, the areas they live in? What role are they playing? I feel like we are not doing enough as citizens. We are part and parcel of the problem, of which it should be a vice versa thing. We should be problem solvers and not problem creators. So I feel like if proper implementation of all these policies can be done, then we'll be living in a very, very secure and safe environment. Because what Wangari Maathai was spearheading while she was still alive, it's something that we can take into consideration, and if we work on that, then we'll be living in a green environment, a green city. Right now, when you walk around Mombasa County, let's say very early in the morning and a little bit late in the evening from 4. How many number of cars do you find on those roads? All these are emitting gases that are very hazardous in the environment. Why don't we come up with a policy that is mitigative in such a way that we're able to reduce the carbon emission in our roads? For example, a country like Netherlands, most of them cycle to work. Why can't we try it here in Mombasa? Like we just put aside a specific day or specific days whereby there is nothing motor related that enters into our cities. I believe if we do so, we'll be able to, you know, calm down the carbon emissions and also clean up the air and also make Mombasa a very, very clean city to live in. But these policies could be there, but when it comes to implementation, there are gaps. And that is what really affects us a lot. I believe if we work on our policies very well, and we even as citizens become, you know, responsible enough to be able to, you know, like to be able to follow the policies, we'll be good to go. If not, all these things will be said, here in, here out, nothing can be done.
Okay, Donald, what do you think? Are we still yet there, or we have a long way to go when it comes to conserving our environment and looking at the climate change itself?
I think maybe I would say that the intention is there, because like for someone that's working in the reforestation and regeneration space, I meet a lot of partners and even youth groups that are doing that. So like the citizen engagement is there. So like for instance, you'll get in schools, the president recently launched the 4K clubs again. Why did you do that? Because he was seeing there was a gap, especially in terms of capacity of the children. And then the only way we can create truly sustainable tree planting, truly sustainable food security projects is by anchoring our solutions in children, because we have to change their mindset. Even the whole idea that agriculture is about the old generation, we have to change that mindset from them. Once they're into 4K clubs, they're able to plant trees. They get that idea that this is something that I carry forth. And children are good that way. Once you teach them something in their formative years, they carry it along. So I think in terms of doing that, that's really good. For instance, as Greenwald, the schools that we have, they're around 65. And they usually have a target of 2,000 trees per year. And they plant them, and they make sure they nurture them. Maybe 80% survive, There are also issues of water and climate change, but they do that. There are a lot of farmers also that are, the whole idea towards driving 10% forest cover that was rolled out by the government. For instance, the Kwale government, the county governments, they are buying a lot of seedlings from farmers. There was the Moche Dam project that has a goal to plant like 5 million trees, and it's encouraging a lot of farmers to plant the trees. And what's good about it is the indigenous species trees, because I think long time ago were about planting exotic, so trees that have been brought from outside. But right now there's a movement towards planting more exotic trees, bamba coffee, mrabai, trees that can do well in our setting. But there's also a move towards agroforestry. So don't just plant the tree, but also grow your food along with it. There's also a move towards more water catchment. You'll see that there's a lot of, on the TV, like they've launched this dam and that dam. So I think there are issues that are taking place, not issues, there are solutions that are taking place on the ground. The biggest problem is if they're getting the resources that they need. Because if you sit somewhere and you write this proposal as government, as county government, and you decide you want to spend 10 million on a project, and then you spend 9 million of that paying people, project manager, I don't know, M&A officer, and then only 1 million goes to the farmer, you're not a solution to that problem. Issue is resources, and they don't need resources in form of monetary resources only. They need resources also in terms of capacity, training, so that they can do smart agriculture, so that they can adopt technology when they are doing. They need resources about how they can regenerate their soil. They need training on how they can also be part of the circular economy, so that when they produce agricultural waste, it's able to be recycled back or reused. So all people need resources in terms of training, and they also need an enabling environment. So I've produced my food. I've taken some of it, I've used it with my family. What happens to the other one? There are no policies in place to make sure that they can access good markets. They come with it maybe to Kongoya, and they can easily use technology whereby somebody can say, I have a buyer, just meet them. Are they able to access loans so that they can be able to, add value to their business? So we should look at what gaps are there that are making sure that the intention of the citizen is not being met along the way. And then we should change that. But we should also look at what capacities are lacking in our citizen. And as policy makers, as government, county and national, we should also ask ourselves, are we taking all the resources to the community, or are they getting lost along the way, paying people that should not be accessing those resources? Because it's not sustainable that way. And the more we do it, the more resources are getting lost, and the more we won't create sustainable, and we'll continue having a linear economy. We'll never want to adopt the circular economy because we want to amass wealth, want to have our own economic benefits at the expense of ecological benefits.
Okay, it is now another year, another term, different ways of coping with the climate change. As much as we want to adopt the circular economy, let's look at this area. How do I know, or what are the things that will hit my mind and say that this is a climate change that is happening, especially for those people who are living in the rural areas? The 77% might be around town, but they also go back to their families in the interior. Now, what are some of the things that when they feel that this has happened, this will really affect them, and they could spread the word and tell what's really happening concerning the whole thing of climate change?
Some of the indicators that manifest changes in the climate are if you have inconsistent rainfall. In the yesteryears, we used to have consistency in terms of the rainfall, and it was, people used to know like it's seasons to plant, seasons to harvest. But nowadays, it's very difficult to tell. Like even as we speak right now, there are areas where it is really, really raining heavily, while at this moment, if it was some years back, they could be harvesting. But you see now, everything that maybe they had planted has already been washed away by the rainfall. So when you see such indications, that tells you like there's a change in the climate, and it's all because of probably the activities that we are doing to the environment. Another thing, if you see like the temperatures are quite abnormal in terms of them going too high, that's another indication that there's change in the environment. And even when it comes to water supply, if you see like rivers are drying up, if you see streams are drying up, those are indicators of climate change. And it's all because probably of the air that has been polluted. It could be in terms of what are we throwing on the soil, or what are we throwing on the environment. The number of trees that we keep on cutting, those are the ones that lead to streams drying and also lack of water in the rivers. I am made to understand that in Kwale, it's kind of much better because of the terrain and the geographical setup in Kwale. In Kwale, we have a lot of trees than Mombasa, but I may tend to think it's because Mombasa is a city, quite congested, not like in Kwale. But you find that even when you go to Kwale, there are some areas they used to produce a lot of water. Nowadays, water is not there.
It's dry up.
Why? Because people are cutting down trees to construct their houses, but they don't know, like, if you construct houses, where do you get the clean air to breathe? The water catchment areas have been affected, so you find that we are struggling to get water. Makiu, Kwale County is the one that kind of produces the water that is being taken up in Mombasa. So if Kwale dries up, then people in Mombasa are much affected. So let's try our level best to maintain trees. Let's replant as many trees as we can so that we protect our water catchment areas.
Yeah, you've talked about drying up, and in Mombasa, we have an ocean near us as well as Kwale. And we also see there is the process of desalination, the harvesting of water for usage. Do you think on that particular time, is it being affected by climate change?
Yeah, all these things about climate change. Absolutely, absolutely. If we go deeper into doing things, if we throw a lot of litter also into the Indian Ocean, we are really affecting the aquatic life there, and it comes back to us again. Nowadays, even fishermen who used to go fishing in the Indian Ocean, they find it as a challenge to get adequate fish to come and sell. So all these things are being affected by it. Most of the industries, I am not so sure about today, but they used to, to throw down their waste to the Indian Ocean. So you find that it's really affecting the temperatures even within the Indian Ocean waters. And also throwing of litter, plastics here and there, it really affects.
Absolutely. Dama, do you have anything to add concerning the red flags which are there concerning the climate change?
Okay. I think also changes in maybe before you'd plant maize, and even changes in harvest, the quantity of harvest that you get. Even one of our biggest indicator was the coming of the locust. They were running away from something because of climate change, and they came here.
Others turned them into food, actually. Did you
Yes.
see that?
Yeah.
Yes, they did. And then you can also see it in terms of soil. People don't know it, but soil is one of the biggest place whereby we can store carbon. So even that is also an indicator of climate change. And of course, there's the rise of temperature and lowering of temperature. Maybe before, right now, it wouldn't be so humid. It's so humid right now. So those are some of the different things that show. But also you can look at animals and see indications of climate change, behaviors of animals, birds migrating, run away from us, even like before. Maybe if you look at even wild animals and other biodiversity. Another indication, like coronavirus, people didn't know, but it was about climate change. Because like some of this ice, when it melts, it's letting out some viruses that are not supposed to be there. Because some farmers right now are not able to access food, there's overpopulation. They are clearing more and more forests. When they clear more and more forests, they are coming into contact with animals that we are not supposed to be in contact with. Yes? And then since animals are not accessing water where they are coming. So you come, you see an animal, you kill, you eat, and then you're exposed to a virus. So even changes in the kind of viruses that you are getting. Viruses are also, it's called that, they are mutating. Diseases are mutating because of changes in temperature. They're also trying to adapt. The more they adapt, the more it's harder for us. So there are many ways that we can know that there are changes that are going on. But you just observe, even like there are some species, both of plants and animals, that have been declared extinct. It's another indication of climate change, because they are supposed maybe to live in certain climatic conditions, but those climatic conditions are no longer there. If before they would get water and then dry, now it's no longer there. So a lot of also biodiversity loss is taking place.
The main objectives of Climathon, what are they? Why Climathon, and which kind of results are you expecting in some few years to come?
The importance of Climathon, first and foremost, is to cause awareness of where we are in terms of us taking action to prevent anything that will harm our environment. So it's about sensitizing our communities to take action. And also the objective actually is for us to, we know the problem, we are the problem solvers. So we come together as a community and harness support and also try to look at these problems and come up with solutions. That is why one of the other activities that we do under Climathon is for us to hack solutions for the challenges that you are facing. And we will be having an ideathon coming up on 5th and on 6th next month, whereby we bring on board communities to just come and look at the challenges. We've already identified these are the challenges. Now what are the solutions to curb the challenges? And people will be able to have an opportunity to just look into the solutions and come up with a long-lasting solution for the problems that we are facing as citizens here in Mombasa. So Climathon is progressive. It's not a one-day event. It's something that we can take into action at any given point in our lives, and we are able to bring solutions that will last even for future generations that are yet to come.
Thank you so much, Bichanga. As we wind up, because time is also not on our side, Delma, what would you like to tell us concerning the whole issue of climate change, and especially the young, vibrant youth who are out there?
Okay. What I'd like to tell you today, we've been brought up in a system whereby it's about money, and it's not going to serve us in any way. So if you think you don't need the trees, or if you think that climate change won't impact you, I want you today to go get your money and try holding your breath while counting it, and see how long you'll be able to survive. We'll not be able to breathe the money that we are trying to run towards. It's going to not serve us in any way. And we should run away from the model that it's sort of individualistic. As long as I am doing my hustle, as long as I am getting by, I have gotten my VX or whatever that you are looking for, it doesn't matter what's going on elsewhere. It matters, because once your neighbor can't get food, someone once wrote that one day people will have nothing to eat and they'll eat the rich. So as you are getting your money and then you'll be rich, and us who are in the rural areas or in Mombasa who can't access food, we'll have to come and raid your fridge. And before that happens, take responsibility. Be your brothers, be your sisters' keeper, and above all, leave a better carbon footprint. It's about individuals. Embrace more circular models of doing things. Embrace holistic models that encourage look towards the economy, social benefits, ecological benefits, and also be a solution. Be the change that you want to see in the world. If you want to buy water, buy and carry around your bottle and just refill. Right now it's possible to refill. And I'm also asking for businesses and producers and policymakers, let's look at the entire value chain when we are doing things. Let's be responsible for our outputs. If I dish out plastics, it's my responsibility to provide employment opportunities for youth so that they can recycle. Let's buy plastic shredders, and let's look for ways of repurposing plastic so that we have a better Mombasa for all of us. Thank you.
That is her take. Let's get your take concerning the whole issue, Bichanga.
First and foremost, before I forget, is that part of the activities that we have as Climathon is that we have an Inspiration Day coming up on 29th and 30th of this month. And this Inspiration Day is meant to inspire the mindsets of young people in Mombasa to take action. So we will be having trainings for both days, whereby we will be sensitizing the youth on matters climate.
Are they paying that? Is there any kind of thing they're supposed to?
No, it's not. You don't pay to attend. You only register. We have our poster that is running on our social media pages. You can visit us at Close the Gap Hub Facebook page. You see the sign up. It's also going around on our socials in terms of WhatsApp, Facebook, at individual levels. So whenever you come across that form, kindly sign up, and then you'll be contacted to attend the Inspiration Day. So it's free, because we believe that we have, as part of the organizing team, we have a role to assist these young people to come and bring their best on the table and hack solutions that will better our society, will better our Mombasa in general. So my take on matters climate change, just as what Dama has mentioned, we have a responsibilities as citizens to play a role in terms of combating activities that drain our society. In terms of the activities that you do, always put into consideration that they won't harm the next generation. Know that in mind that whatever you do today, it will have an effect tomorrow. And if you don't want any negative effect to be on you, also have the same intention for the person that is coming after you. Even to our leaders, don't make policies that will only benefit you and maybe your community, but always come up with policies that will benefit everyone, even the generation that is yet to come, because by doing so we'll create a sustainable environment. What we are gearing up for and what we are sensitizing and emphasizing to every person is that we need to act. We have a role to play. Come on board. Don't sit and wait for people to come and solve issues for you. You are the person who can solve your own issues. You don't need to have a lot of money to solve. You are the voice. Come, let's solve these things together. We are the change that we want to see.
Okay, we are the change that we want to see. Thank you, Vichanga, and it's such an inspiration thing. And thank you very much for coming into the studio. Everything that starts has an ending. And I would like to acknowledge those who have been looking at our social media sites. We have Ahmed Amadoz and Zuma the Boss Chick, Safia Abdi, Kennedy Baraka, Ragishna Babes. We have Liz Ann, we have Mdungi Ibnu Hajar, we have Robert Roba, we have Osman Said, and Mark. Thank you so much for staying up to this particular point. There are a lot of programs which are coming for you, and you will be very glad to see our contents. My name is Dalila Hamza, and this is the Umbrella Show. It's still next time, but I wish you a very, very good day. And remember that our climate change, it is our own responsibility.